Meet me. Welcome back, boys. It's developer note time. There's a new balance patch coming up. 7 heroes are being changed, so let's talk about all of them. So, up on the docket, we have Archdemon Shadow, love it. Jkise, love it. Melissa, don't have her built, but those of you do will be happy. These things I don't care too much about. Actually, maybe this one, but this is going to be PvE stuff for sure. And Windrider and Fairy Tale for Nightwear. Well, this one's pretty garbage, so I'm excited to see what they're doing for that. I guess Windrider you could use, but pretty much no one used it. So all of it is good. I think they picked a good roster to enhance. Let's take a look-see. I love my Archdemon Shadow's plus 15, so I hope these buffs are good. S1, the only change is the Soulburn ignores effect resistance. Huh, that's an actual really good buff, but I don't know if it's really that good of a buff. I mean, it's definitely a huge improvement, right? But is it enough to make her good? I don't think so, because the things you seal generally don't have effect resistance anyway, so all this really does is prevent the fury of being 15%ed, right? But Rylot, RB, T-Surin, FCC sometimes has effect resistance, but in general, most of the stuff that you want to seal doesn't have effect resistance anyway. But definitely a good thing. I like it. It's good. It's solid. But like stuff that's going to have high ER, generally didn't have. See, like what's high ER heroes like Ruels and Maids and stuff like that. You weren't going to seal them to begin with because it doesn't do anything. So, good, but not game-breaking. What else here? After using Touch of Chaos, 40% chance. I mean, that's good, right? I mean, it's better than 35%. But actually, the effect chance is doubled. So when they're sealed, it's 80% instead of 70%, right? I'll take it. I'll take it. I just make it a flat 50. I mean, it's not like anyone's using Archdemon Shadow anyway, right? Like, I have not seen her in Archie in ages because she's effectively unusable right now, but it's good. It makes her better. S3 attacks all enemies with the power of Urios with a 70% chance to decrease defense for 2 turns. So basically, the exact same thing, except it has a 2-turn defense break. Now that's a big buff, right? Like anytime you add defense break to a skill that doesn't have defense break, that's a big buff, right? Defense break is probably the strongest debuff in the game. Does this fix her problems, though? I don't think so. I don't think this is enough to fix her. I mean, I like the defense break for sure, but the main problem with Archdemon Mercedes right now is a lot of times she just doesn't seal, 75% chance. The Soulburn helps with the ignore effect resistance, but I mean, if you Soulburn before, unless you got 15%ed, most of the stuff you were gonna seal anyway. This thing helps, but again, it's not, like meta bursting. It's kind of still the same hero, 5% greater chance to use her S2. The S3 is the biggest change by far, but the thing is, unlike a lot of the annoying counter heroes now, like Rem and Mercedes and the Lion, she doesn't have like an Elbrus or anything, so the main thing with her is she just tends to get ignored, and she doesn't stack up her thing. So against like a team with a lot of AoE attacks, maybe it'd be good against them, but I don't think this is enough to change her a lot. But I hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope I'm wrong, because I love Archdemon Mercedes, and she was on my Guild Wars defense for a long time, but I don't know if this is suddenly going to make her good. I think it will make her a lot stronger in certain comps, because what some people did was, because there's an emphasis on her being ignored, a lot of people used to run her with something like A-Raz. When you run her with stuff with dual attacks, and maybe she'll be good with the new ML Lilius, when she has the ability to hit her S1 multiple times and stack up focus quickly, then she becomes kind of a terrorist. But without those heroes, she kind of sits there and snoozes while your whole team dies. But overall, I like it. Any buffs are good buffs. Is it enough to make her like a top contender? I don't think so, but this part is definitely very beneficial. Let's move on. So overall, I'm going to give her buffs like we'll call it like a C plus buff, but it definitely makes her better, and I'm excited to try it out. Jkise has been used to be the queen of cleave, has essentially been useless for the last few seasons. Let's see what they did. Attacks enemies with a kise, so we all know she had a chance to buff. She did more damage with more enemies. And they changed it to decrease hit chance for one turn and got rid of her soul burn. That seems like a nerf. The new version seems way worse. What the hell? Okay. Alright, well, let's look at the Wave of Light. That's her S3. Let's look at the Awakened version. Oh, they moved the buff, so they made the buff dispel 80% chance instead of 75%, and they moved it to her S3. Oh, so they're trying to make it so she doesn't need souls to use the S3, because before the rotation was you had to S2 to try and strip immunities, and then S3. But the thing is, if you didn't have souls, you couldn't do that, so your S3 was useless because of immunity. Now she can strip with her S3 without souls and increase skill cooldown. That's a pretty big buff. Grant skill nullifier once to the caster. I don't really care about that. With heroes like this, it doesn't matter. I'd rather she have gotten stealth or something. Damage increases with more enemies. So they moved this to that. So they just want you to mash her S3. That's basically how they changed this hero. They knew that she's too dependent on the souls to get that S2 off, and they said just use the S3, forget the S2. And you could still do the S2. You could soul burn the S3 and then slam the S2. It sounds like it'll do less damage now, but you'll blind them. It's pretty cool. Okay, yeah, so basically, blah 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 is not so threatening without souls available. So that's basically what they're saying. They want her to just S3 and be able to reset. I don't know how I feel about this. I think this makes her a lot better. I don't know if it is enough to make you want to pick her, though. Like, something like Mediator Coward, his buffs, everyone was like, okay, this is going to go from a hero that no one uses to one that everyone's going to use. And guess what? Everyone uses him. This, I mean, the problem with this is it's not 100%, so you're going to get screwed over a lot unless I'm missing something. And also, if they have any kind of barrier or something, it doesn't work. And also, effect resistance will stop this. Cleavers, maybe? Because she's going to do a lot of damage. Just build her really fast with a cleaver, or not even really fast. Build her like 240 speed, and you'll still be able to reset things like that don't run ER, like DPSs, maybe even most Mediator Cowards. A lot of them don't run any effect resistance. Ugh, this one takes some thought, but overall, I think these buffs definitely do make her a lot better. I just feel like this 80% is going to piss a lot of people off, and you better take or pre-ban FCC then, or pair her with a stripper. But again, you could have done that with her before. You could have built her fast and put her behind a stripper to get rid of immunities and skill reset, right? But no one did that. No one did that because it just wasn't enough. But let's see. Time will tell. I don't think there's any question that this makes her better. The real question is it better enough? And for that, I'm not too sure. Melissa, I don't really use this hero, so my apologies in advance if I'm going to miss if this makes her really good, if you guys run into problems. So, Manifestation, okay, basically gives her immunity so she doesn't get, like, disabled or something. I guess that's good. So pretty much she's exactly the same, except she doesn't have to hit the target anymore. I don't know, guys. You guys tell me, like, is this the reason why people weren't using Melissas? Because you were getting dodged by Violets or Rylets or whatever and it made her unusable? If so, maybe this makes her really good. I don't really know because I don't use this hero. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I don't want to give you guys bad advice. It's definitely a buff, but me not using Melissa, I don't know if this was a legitimate concern of a lot of people or not. But if it is, maybe this is a big buff, but honestly, my experience comes from versing things a lot in RTA or Guild Wars. I've not seen Melissa in RTA or Guild Wars for probably 6 months, so I don't really know. But it's definitely a buff. Maybe she becomes like a Violet terrorist now, but it doesn't help her hit. It just guarantees the curse regardless of whether or not she hits. So I don't know. It's definitely a buff, though. Lorina. I mean, who cares? Let's look at Commander Lorina. Okay, so PvPers won't care. She already wrecked PvE, and what they did was they gave her DDJ built in, right? I don't know if it also stacks with DDJ, but I'm assuming it does. So she was already a PvE terrorist before. If you guys are struggling on Abyss and stuff, Commander Lorina is what you want to build. F2P friendly, 3-star, doesn't require molas, and hits like a truck. And a lot of the fights where they punish you if you debuff them, she's the queen of that content. So all it does is make her even better. So these are fantastic buffs, probably the strongest buffs I've seen giving her DDJ. Except a lot of the Abyss floors have immunity to damage dealt proportional to max health, but whatever. I mean, it's there if you need it, so very good buffs but for PvP purposes, completely useless. Wanda, I don't actually know which moves are the S1 and the S3. Well, this is the S3, right? The stun thing. Weak point is what? S1? I guess so, because her S2 is the passive that targets, right? Alright. Okay, so basically this made it easier. Before, if they weren't targeted, it didn't push them back. This pushes them back regardless, so that's a very solid buff. Is it enough? Probably not. One shot, one kill. Let's look at the Awakened version. Before, 100% chance to stun for 2 turns, 50% chance to make them unhealable. So 100% chance to stun. So they changed the unhealable, that was 50%, to a 100% decreased speed. That's actually quite good. It makes sense for her because it means that she can turn cycle them more because they have decreased speed up. Because one thing Wanda was able to do was like basically stun lock people. It's a 2-turn stun. She could keep pushing them back. She can kind of just keep someone from ever taking a turn if they don't have a cleanse. The main problem is she's single target, so you can only lock down one person, but increases hit chance of weak point by 40%, 70%. That's a big buff. Basically means she'll never miss even on stuff like violets and stuff without having to use symbol. This is a pretty big buff. So instead of a low chance to get increased speed, you have a 100% chance to start with Guiding Light, basically. Which means she's easy to protect. And the rune decreases buff duration by 1 turn. So you don't even have to care about immunity anymore. The opener immunity, because I'm assuming this... Yeah, before the effect. So she strips the immunity, if I'm reading this right, and then she could stun them for 2 turns. So this actually can also shut down something like Mediator Cowric, right? Because he reduces his debuff durations by 1 turn, but a 2-turn stun, it just turns into a 1-turn stun. He's still stunned. I was not expecting much out of the buffs to this specialty change, but I think out of what I've seen, this is the best set of buffs. And I might be tempted to actually experiment with this hero now. I think this one might be, like, did she strip before? I'm assuming no, because they added one, so being able to just hit the S3 and guaranteed 2-turn stun someone, well, you could get resisted, but outside of the resist, having a 2-turn stun on someone if they don't have a cleanse on their team, that's a pretty big deal, guys. That's a pretty big deal. There's not many things in the game that have turn-denying debuffs for 2 turns, right? Like a 2-turn stun? That's pretty nuts. I mean, I don't know. I'm liking so far I like these buffs the best. I might have to play with this one. I don't know what you guys think. Wind Rider. Okay, so this is a pretty solid. Basically, Wind Rider, the problem with it was useless if you didn't kill anyone. But basically they're saying even if you don't kill anyone, we're going to give you 1/3 of that bonus all the time. So this might not be bad. I versed the Spez that had this. The guy murked me because I didn't even know what Spez did. He was on Wind Rider and he kept going stealth, and now I know what it was because I wasn't paying attention. This is definitely a buff. Problem is, thieves have a lot of good artifacts, so is this enough to make people use it over things like Alexas or RNL or MLDB? No, because a lot of heroes you just have to have them on like MLDB. You really want them on Alexas, but The fact that you get this damage and 20% is pretty good. It's like a little less than half of an attack buff. This is still way better. It's way better. I like it. I like it. I don't know if it's enough. It's definitely not enough to have people suddenly start switching to it all the time, but it's definitely a good buff. Fairy Tale for now. If caster attacks when it's not their turn, deals 1500 fixed damage. After an extra attack, counter attack, and dual attack, has a 60% chance to dispel one buff from the target. I don't know why they changed the wording here. Maybe you guys in the comments can explain the significance of this or when it's not their turn. Like, you can't dual attack on your own turn. You can't counter attack on your own turn. I guess you can extra attack on your turn, but not many heroes. Like, what, Tomoka would proc it on Absolber and S1? I don't know. I don't know. You guys can explain the significance of that to me, but it seems the same, except you have a 60% chance, so they kind of give it a violin. Is this enough to fix this ass artifact? I don't think so. I don't think so. Oh. Wait a minute. Archdemon Mercedes? Can Archdemon Mercedes? Because my Archdemon is on violin, and I think I'd rather have the 80% chance to strike. 80% and 60% is a huge difference, but 1500 fixed damage on like her S2 might actually be a big deal. Can Archdemon Mercedes use this? I don't know. We'd have to think about it. I don't think this is a huge buff, but I think Archdemon is the only one where I think I might be able to use it, where you kind of want violin, but it's worth it to go for this 1500 fixed damage. But in general, the vast majority of mages, that's the problem with it, it's a mage artifact. Taga Hells is too good. Spirit's Breath is too good. Like, they just have too many good artifacts, so why do you want 1500 fixed damage? Any decent mage, Taga Hells is going to give you way more than 15. It'll take you like 20 counters to make up for those 20 souls. But Archdemon is the one thing where I think maybe you have a chance. And it looks like that's everything. So overall, I think the best buffs are the Wanda buffs. The Wanda buffs seem pretty wicked, to be honest, and I'm excited to try these out. The Melissa buffs, I don't know. You guys tell me. I'm not a Melissa user, so I'm not really sure. Archdemon, I think this changed very little, but we'll see if this has a huge impact. But I feel like a lot of games where I did try to draft Archdemon, she never even S3'd. They just ignored her and nothing happened. So my whole team was dead before she could even do this. But if you get into that rare 1v3 situation, this will help her clean house. So maybe I'm underestimating the impact of this. And Jkise, I hope I'm wrong, because mine is pretty highly mola'd. She's better, but how do you build her? Do you build her fast and just try to slam her into people and reset them? Because if you use her behind a stripper, you could have done that before anyone, right? If you had a stripper before, she could have done the same thing pre-buff. The problem was you couldn't rely on that. So if you just have an 80% chance to dispel one buff and you use her as an opener, is that safe enough? I don't know, and I feel like you'll get screwed over by this and just bench her, but we'll see, because skill reset is one of the most annoying debuffs in the game. Well, it's not even a debuff, that's the problem. You can't cleanse it. If you're reset, there's no way to get around it than just losing your turn, so it's super powerful. So, maybe. This one's a tough one. Jkise is the one where I'm really on the fence about. I can't tell if it's going to be good or not, but I think Wanda is way better. Archdemon's only mildly better. Melissa, I have no idea. And the artifacts, I don't think so. Overall, I don't think there's anything in these balance patch notes that were as mind-blowing as the last one when I saw the Mediator Coward one, and I was like, holy hell, this is the new meta. I don't think any of these things are like that, but I think they're definitely good buffs. And so far, the most exciting one to me is Wanda. And that's not me predicting that Wanda's going to be rampant into RTA meta. I just think going from what she was before, which was effectively useless, except in like Arena or Guild Wars, where the AI, stupid AI, you could abuse it and deal with violence with Wanda. In RTA, I have never seen a Wanda. Maybe we'll occasionally see one in RTA now, because this seems pretty solid, especially with her being able to strip. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Did I screw something up? Maybe I did, and that's why I have you guys to correct me. So if I said something stupid or I missed something, I don't take offense. Feel free to point it out and correct me. I'll heart it or whatever so it goes to the top so other people can all know how stupid I am. And, I just want to give the community the best information possible. So anyways, thanks for watching. Congratulations if you had any of these heroes molded that were sitting on the bench. Until next time, peace out, boys.